Hi there, and welcome to Enterprise Software Defenders, a show that highlights how enterprise security leaders are using innovative technologies to stop the most sophisticated cyber attacks. In each episode, Fortune 500 CISOs share how the threat landscape has changed due to the cloud, real-world examples of modern attacks, and the role AI can play in the future of cybersecurity. I'm Evan Reiser, the CEO and founder of Abnormal Security.
And I'm Mike Britton, the CISO of Abnormal Security. Today on the show, we're bringing you a conversation with Stephen Harrison, Chief Information Security Officer at MGM Resorts International. MGM Resorts International is a global hospitality and entertainment leader, operating some of the most iconic destinations in Las Vegas and beyond. MGM boasts an annual revenue of over $16 billion and employs more than 70,000 people worldwide. In this conversation, Stephen explores cybersecurity complexities in the entertainment sector, the deployment of AI in both safeguarding systems and enhancing attack methods, and the escalation of automated exploits targeting human error.
Do you mind giving us a little background about kind of your career, kind of what you do today and how you got there?
So I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for MGM Resorts International. And sometimes when I say that, people think immediately of like the MGM Grand, but the corporation owns, I think, about 48% of the Las Vegas Strip, and they have like golf courses, sports arenas, restaurants, entertainment venues. We have like joint ventures in sports betting and iGaming and things around the globe. We've been investing and growing in. It's probably the most diverse company I've worked in. I did some stuff for Adidas, doing cyber for North and South America before here. LabCorp Global Holdings was a good one out of North Carolina. Chobani, they're the yogurt company and stuff. I've done some pen testing and infrastructure work in my past, but I've been in tech for, employed in tech for about 18 years almost. So it's been fantastic.
Was there a moment in your career where you said, okay, cybersecurity, information security, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. I had met some pen testers at the Veris Group a long time ago. Jason Frank and Mark and Mudge and team. And I've been doing like infrastructure work, which is admirable work. I mean, their network infrastructure engineering it's become this complex thing from SD-WAN and if you think cloud-based routing and just at a place like MGM Resorts, you think about one of our properties, there might be thousands of switches in one property and just to orchestrate network objects and manage that at scale, that is a Herculean effort. And it's so, but I'd always been, I don't know, maybe mischievous in my youth. And so when I learned about pen testing and things like this, it really stood out to me as like an opportunity to chase that sort of mischievous nature early on in my career. And then as one does, you find out it's very easy to point out problems. It's a lot harder to solve them. And so, I still admire red teamers. I mean, reverse engineering malware, like finding creative ways to point out flaws and attack vectors that threat actors will use. But on the blue team and program management side, it is so much more challenging. and I love the challenge. So.
You talked about MGM's mission to entertain the human race, right? And you also mentioned, one of the important roles is kind of reduce friction in that process. Sometimes reducing friction comes at the cost of, security. I remember one of the anecdotes you shared with me in the past, and forgive me if I'm misremembering here. You said, hey, on one hand, we're trying to make sure that anytime someone steps in MGM Resorts, they have easy instant access to Wi-Fi. At the same time, we also host conventions for the hackers, right? And so there's some kind of tension there. Do you mind sharing just some of the unique challenges that MGM has that maybe, some of the people are the outsiders, or some of the outsiders may not fully appreciate?
Yeah. If you think about this, Black Hat, DEF CON, B-Sides, these all are wonderful programs that spawned out of Las Vegas, which is I guess what's appealing about Las Vegas as a professional here. And DEF CON has obviously grown, and Black Hat has grown to international offerings, and B-Sides has become this community framework across the country, right? I think actually across the globe at this point. These conventions all coming to Vegas bring interesting challenges, and it's not solved just by one resort or company, but mainly the community. And so a lot of my counterparts, Homeland Security, FBI, everyone will sort of come together during this fun week to ensure that everyone who's coming in, I don't actually think people are coming in with a lot of like malintent in their day to day, but it is fun to go and get with your friends. And I think back like when the TV Killer came out, and this is an old IR device, infrared device that was, an innovation a long time ago, and it would spam the universal remote code to turn off televisions. Could you imagine this sort of havoc it would reap across like sports books or restaurants with digital menus or things like this? Just as an example of like the mischief nature that comes here, or trying to sabotage elevators, or I mean, DEF CON was really the originating conference here, and there's so much passion for technology that comes to town, and it does bring challenges that really we are focused on. Like I said, protecting that experience. That includes protecting hackers from themselves. So if you think about these groups of professionals coming in, testing, learning about new things, we have to have fantastic logical separation of those event spaces and those networks so that it doesn't interact or impede core function for the services we provide. And really that's, I mean, zero trust is sort of another one of these buzzwords like enabled by AI, but it's really that sort of strategy of segmenting out your network with a zero trust hierarchy. So we are empowering that experience. And I mean, last year, the Sphere was like offering a bounty for like whoever could hack it or something like this. And if you haven't seen the Sphere in Las Vegas, this gigantic digital display powered by like millions of dollars of NVIDIA technology. And it is a sight.
LEDs. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a sight to see, but as a digital target, these things stand out. The digital signs across properties. And if you're looking for some sort of social media clout or farming as a hacker or red teamer, they almost become like too tempting to ignore. So those are some of the challenges we face. If you think about the digital experience in your day-to-day life, checking into your hotel, your digital key app, the ATMs, loyalty experiences, these are across the hospitality space in Vegas. And that footprint is also, again, at this time of year, a very fun, tantalizing target. So it's sort of a love-hate relationship with it. The team absolutely loves coming out and working on this. We have a lot of collaboration. We stand up a lot of services to support it. It's a fun time to network and learn and innovate and hit your head against the wall in some capture the flag event. But then it's also an interesting time at work where people are standing up new typo squat domains. They're trying to do social engineering attacks. So Vegas is very famous for its physical security, and they are fantastic at what they do across Vegas on the physical security side. So it's these challenges are always interesting every year. I'm probably not going to be going into detail too much on some of them, maybe over a drink, but yeah, it is an interesting dynamic experience every year. And it's not just Black Hat or DEF CON or things like this. We had the Super Bowl here in February across multiple companies, across multiple properties. We have Formula One race, which was an international I would say success, but I mean, it was just a challenging, interesting event. And you think about everything that goes into that, from the retail to commerce, business to business, sales, room bookings, coordination we stood up our own grandstands at Bellagio. If you haven't looked at this, it was a daunting experience. You're standing up infrastructure that's going to live there and be used for about 5 days. and this has to facilitate food and beverage, point of sale, retail experiences, Wi-Fi. We're so spoiled by Wi-Fi and cellular repeaters and things like this. This infrastructure is taken for granted, and to be able to stand it up and secure it in that for such a short period of time is just a challenge I love to come and contribute to every day.
We've seen, broad adoption of SaaS across most organizations. You see AI and just so much rapid technology advancement. And honestly, I've always felt like, security is always chasing the business on protecting things that they're throwing out there faster than we can keep up. How do you see the threat landscape changing with the technology that we have today and some of the new things like SaaS and AI and cloud native?
SaaS, the way I explained it to like my mother, who's like almost 70, was because she doesn't understand this stuff, was think about cable TV and dish satellite or things like this, and the way it evolved into everyone running their own streaming system. Everyone is now on a SaaS is just essentially every company saying we're going to own and operate and facilitate our own technology stacks, and you'll subscribe to them as a license. And this has created a distributed space. And with traditionally, if you go back like 2010, we're very centralized across the board in InfoSec programs, and now we're operating in a distributed space. So that means your strategy, your governance, compliance, your identity has to be managed in a distributed model. And so that comes with a lot of challenges at scale, compatibility, and those are all interesting things to solve for. It's good and bad, I guess, in that, because if you go all in on a SaaS partner and in one space or one domain, and then you go all in on another, and they'll work well with you as a customer together, but they don't always work together in the best ways. So there can be competition and overlap, and when you're trying to get them to integrate, it can create challenges especially if they have competing offers in different spaces, and you're picking one offering from each, but not the overlapping offering. So that's just part of the corporate nature of it, though. they have to be incentivized, but that's really the better solutions out there are the ones that don't have that ego in their product development, that they'll open up their APIs, they'll integrate agnostically across technology. Yeah, I think that's starting there at SaaS and cloud. I mean, cloud is basically the same thing. It's just instead of a SaaS software, we're talking about platforms and infrastructure that we don't own anymore. And if you have a multi-cloud provider configuration, then you're facing the same compatibility. And I think people overlook comparing the two, build versus buy strategy a lot. Technologists can really just love to build stuff, right? And I'll see companies out there in my career when I did consulting or engineering development work or whatever, who really struggled with build versus buy, because as nerds, we some of our favorite moments are when we build something ourselves, but it's not necessarily like sustainable, secure, supportable. And so I'm sure you've been in some place where someone built some core infrastructure piece. It could be cloud native, whatever. And that person left and and no one knows what to do with that technology anymore. some old Perl script running, or some like .NET app that's doing some critical tech function. So, I mean, when you look at all of it, the challenges are the same, I think, across those domains, but it's more distributed technology at scale. If you're lucky enough or fortunate enough to be in a business where you can centralize, that's probably a nice place to be for like sleeping at night. but a lot of your retail, B2B, entertainment, the retail hospitality is the ISAC we're a member of, and all of our peers face similar challenges because anything that's B2C, right? Business to the consumer or customer has to be scale. And so, yeah, those challenges I think are primarily around supportability, scalability. Cost is a huge issue, but that's why you evaluate build versus buy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when we're at a period of time where there's never been faster acceleration of technology, and like whatever you thought was cutting edge of AI last week, well, just check Twitter this week, you're probably wrong, right? It's a new thing.
I mean, every innovation that comes out is also empowering threat actors, right? It's not like we're just using it, and in some cases they innovate way faster. And I'll backtrack a little bit. At MGM Resorts, obviously we're leveraging AI and strategically investing in that space. I think when you envision the customer experience, the guest experience, there's places to digitally enhance that with AI. And that creates interesting challenges on protecting AI from injection, model poisoning, feedback sabotage. There's so many areas, and then you got your whole security DevSecOps stack to worry about on top of that. You've just complicated it. But on the threat actor side, it's doing so much more. I was talking with, you guys know Deepen Desai. He's a great guy. He was talking about like GPT for threat actors. And I was like, well, it's going to be more than that. And we pushed it a little bit farther in the conversation, talking about, you have ransomware as a service right now. And I would expect by next year sometime to see ransomware as a service evolve and become more of like AI as a service for threat actors. They're going to subscribe with cryptocurrency. And it's going to be not just the send a phishing email, which AI is doing right now for threat actors, but it's going to be help me discover domains and vulnerabilities and issues with this company. And then why don't you pull the exploit packages for me? And then why don't you stand up a C2 instance for me as well while you're at it? And then let's just go to town. You think about script kiddies, and we say it in a defamatory fashion when we describe script kiddies, someone who doesn't necessarily understand technology all that well, but there's easy opportunities in Google and YouTube, and they can figure out how to do something very simple to cause damage or disruption. And the risk of what used to be a dismissal script kiddie with what I expect to happen with AI is going to exacerbate the situation. It's not how much do I need to know anymore. And think about this for a second too. I don't know if you guys look at like these security function AI tools out there for development. AI works on like a bell curve, right? So it takes sampling of the curve, and it's taking like this middle section, and it's saying like, this is the most code here. And that's, but the problem is like, that's all garbage code for the most part. And then it's like all the best functions and clean code and comments are like far down on the right side of that bell curve. If you look at packages in development that threat actors build, this stuff is clean and concise. The silver bullet AI proxy service out there that they're using for like sneaker bots and for loyalty takeover, this thing will cycle through proxy services automatically. It's like a subscription model. They have community sharing for configs for targeting retail companies out there. These things are so much more sophisticated in DevOps in some places from like if I go to like GitHub and I'm looking at like major companies, community repos and the way they're building code. So when I think about a GPT as a service for threat actors or AI as a service, they're going to benefit from higher fidelity functions and codes and attacks because it's very concise work. So I expect that to be very disruptive.
So, Stephen, I think like there's a lot of confusion about kind of what are the real worries and kind of the non-real worries, right? And we've all read articles about, they put in like the vulnerability fix patch notes into GPT, whatever, and it spits out like what the exploit was. And, people are talking about, there's going to be large language models spitting out 0-day stuff. And like, maybe kind of help us tease out like what's kind of fact versus fiction. Like, what do you think are some of the real threats you see today that you worry about? And what are things that are coming around the corner a year out down the road that you think maybe people are underestimating right now?
Right now, you're seeing social engineering and SMS phishing, email phishing, voice calls. All of these areas are the real-time or near present day threats where AI is excelling. When you can see, like we could take this sample conversation we're having right now, and then I could think about this. I could spoof, if I know your phone number, Evan, I can spoof your phone number. I can call Mike maybe when I know he's busy. I can leave a voicemail with your voice and say, I'm too busy. Don't call me back. Just do these things. And like, if you can do these things for me as my friend or whatever, I'll catch up with you later. And if you do that, like that is a real world threat, I think, but I don't know that there's a stack per se to like, or a solution or a screwdriver to throw at this problem. It's very much a human problem. I think there's a lot of pressure on, the FCC to get better at preventing phone spoofing, because we're all seeing the, like, come on, how many texts do you get a week right now from like some offer, Amazon delivery, whatever, like, oh, here's a new job offer, work from home, whatever garbage it is out there, these scams that exist. There has to be some stronger regulation and oversight, I think, for telcos. So
that's crazy. I got 3 of these today.
Yeah. It's not something security professionals can solve, is my point there.
Yeah. There's not good integration points, right? Like you can't, like, even 3 of us got together and said, we'll spend, $1 billion to go build a solution here. It's hard to know, like, there's no API to monitor, iPhone voicemail and stuff like that. So it's a really hard problem to solve.
Yeah. Yeah. And they think about like half of emails are like garbage right now. And like from the Verizon breach report that came out, and like, it's probably very similar. I think I read it was like over 40% for phone calls are like spam in the US and probably internationally right now. So you think about that. It's just noise, and there's no way to handle that right now, which is sort of discouraging, but it'd be interesting to see if your telco services can start bringing in like anti-spoofing technology and building that out at the DID pool level and the way they route calls and things like this. But I mean, we're not getting there anytime soon. But these threats are here right now. Phishing, on the social engineering side, I focus here because as a pen tester, you're like, what's the most successful route? It's a lot of it's social engineering. It gets, the human element is always going to be a struggle, and for some of these, there's no way to remove it out of the out of the attack path. But for phishing, I think there's definitely solutions. Text, I think it's noisy, but that's more, unless you're going to control every phone and inspect every text that your company has. I don't know how you're going to handle that. So but these are the areas that AI, as on the threat actor side, is probably ahead of us in this cat and mouse game.
So I think the example you gave, right, doesn't seem far-fetched, right? You take the recording from this, right? You spoof a voicemail. Like that's not science fiction, right? That's something that you can do today. So, but like what happened? Like you can do that with tools that are publicly available, easy accessible today. Where are we in like 2 years from now, right? When you have ChatGPT 7 and like these, the generated video models don't take 5 minutes to create. They take 5 milliseconds. And you can now have interactive Zoom calls with perfect deep fakes that like, where are we going to be? And like, how do we defend in that future?
It's going to be insane. If you think about what's going on right now or in the problems with AI right now, they're still prone to hallucinations in your AI models. And what you see NVIDIA and OpenAI and Microsoft investing in is the reasoning models, right? And so if you're unfamiliar with AI bot infrastructure right now, you sort of have this orchestration bot that then talks to all of these specific language learning model bots or functions, and each of them have a specialized area. And so they know which ones are experts in what space based on what you've built out and the sort of the data you put behind them. But reasoning is where some of these things struggle.
And these problems will go away, right? Maybe whether it's 1 year or 10 years, at some point that goes away. And so where does that leave us from like a security perspective?
I think it's good as long as you're investing in those tools as well, right? It's like you have to ignore, you can't just ignore them. Like if you're running an enterprise security and you're like sort of putting up this gridiron fence saying, no, our company's not going to use AI at a professional knowledge worker level, I think you're probably doing a disservice, right? That's like insisting you're going to, like as typewriters are coming out, that you're just going to keep using cursive and you're like iron ink or whatever. I mean, this is, it's inefficient to think that way. And so as long as you can create sort of rules of the road or guidelines for your organization or team, and you consider privacy and the risks associated with that, and you have, they're going to do it anyways, I guess is my first point. Because the whole term shadow IT exists for a reason, or shadow tech. It's because technology or security has created a barrier where the business sees value, and the business is going to go around you. And I mean, you can argue that, well, you don't have a good enough relationship or whatever with your department, or you can be this department of no, but you're sort of stifling innovation and development and growth and new ideas if you go that route. Instead, find a way that it can work in your environment, find a way that you can create safe engagements to use these tools, and then see which ones are going to work for your use cases. And then these are going to drive new ideas and new innovations and new ways of thinking for your teams.
So for the last part of the episode, we like to do kind of what we call like a lightning round. So looking for like the one tweet responses, which I know will be impossible because these questions are pretty deep. But Mike, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So, you have somebody that you know that's stepping into their first CISO job. What's the one piece of advice that you would give them around something that you've either overestimated or underestimated about being a CISO?
Start a bug bounty program.
What is the best way for a CISO to stay up to date on new security challenges, especially like in an age where AI is changing every week?
Subscribe to news feeds and listen to these podcasts on your commute or when you're working out.
So on a more personal side, what's a book or maybe even a podcast or audiobook that you've taken advantage of that's had a big impact on you, and why?
Dare to Lead is a fantastic book, and it's about getting over your own, getting out of your own way, and focusing on what you're there to do.
What do you think will be true about AI's future impact on cybersecurity that most people don't believe, or most people will consider science fiction?
It's going to exacerbate the threat actors and empower them first before we're able to catch up in some spaces.
Last question. What advice would you like to share to inspire the next generation of security leaders?
Try to be normal. Check your ego at the door. Don't focus too much on your own clout and life will be easier.
Stephen, thanks so much for joining our podcast today. As always, it's been super fun to talk with you. Looking forward to getting together again soon.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
That was Stephen Harrison, Chief Information Security Officer at MGM Resorts International. I'm Mike Britton, the CISO of Abnormal Security.
And I'm Evan Reiser, the CEO and founder of Abnormal Security.
Please be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find more great lessons from technology leaders and other enterprise software experts at enterprisesoftware.blog.
This show is produced by Josh Meir. See you next time.